This podcast is produced by The Brand is Female.
Hi, I'm Cardsy B, and this is my podcast, Hex in the City. I'm so thrilled to announce that this season of Hex in the City is brought to you by Louvre Design. Louvre is a socially responsible fashion brand specializing in sustainable women's clothing, and the company is 100% female-owned and female-led. You all know how I believe in uplifting and supporting women creators. I also know that finding clothing that looks to lower environmental impact and that also doesn't break the bank is never easy, but Louvre has set out to change that. Even better, you can be sure that everyone Louvre works with are getting fair wages, and I'm a big believer in tackling the gender wage gap. I found everything as comfortable as your go-to yoga gear, but chic enough to wear out, with easy-to-wear staples and playful prints that are sure to end up on heavy rotation in your closet. Check out Louvre for yourself at louvedesign.com, that's L-O-U-V-E design.com, and get free shipping on your next order wherever you are in the world with the code HEXFREE, all one word, at checkout. Hello and welcome back. So we've been in Leo season for the past week, but this is the episode for the official kickoff to August, Leo energies, the Lionsgate portal, our second Aquarius full moon. What else am I missing? Llamas. So much happening this month. I love Leo season. As many of you know, I am a fire sun, fire rising. So I love this Leo season of fire. As we touched on last week, so Leo officially began Friday, July 23rd, and it runs through August 22nd. I always look at the new moon in an astrological season as the heart of that season, kind of the big kickoff. And the new moon in Leo occurs on Saturday, August 7th, so this coming Saturday, which is my official move in to my place in Miami. I didn't plan it at the time, but I'm so grateful the universe did because this is such a powerful activator. Leo is the fixed fire sign, and this really represents the celebration of the heat of summer in the Northern Hemisphere before the harvest. And for this reason, it's a really high energy time for inspiration, action, manifestation. And this coupled with the period known as the Lionsgate portal, which is also sometimes called the Leo portal, the Sirius portal, or the 8-8 portal, is just a really, really powerful time. This portal occurs at the heart of Leo season when Sirius is the second brightest star in our solar system, second to our sun, or I should say the second brightest star we know of so far, because I think that, we only know we're on like the tip of the iceberg of what's in our universe, let alone the multiverse. But okay, Sirius, second brightest star to the sun that we know of so far. And in this time, in this like end of July to mid-August, Sirius is rising closer to the Earth and coming into alignment with the Orion belt. So that starts officially, it started last week, July 28th, and goes through August 13th. But it really peaks at August 8th, which is also why a lot of people refer to this time as the 8-8 portal, because that's kind of the most powerful time to work with these energies. It's a really, really intense time of manifestation, of channeling, receiving downloads. If you have Leo in a prominent place in your natal chart, you'll probably feel this time and really be impacted by these energies. Also, if you have any connections to the Sirius star system, and if you don't know what that is, it's Sirius, again, second brightest star, and receiving intense downloads during this time, during early August, might indicate that you have a connection there. That's something that occurred for me multiple years in a row, which was what actually caused me to look into the Lionsgate portal. I didn't even know what it was. I had no connection to it. And I was like, why do I get these really almost prophetic dreams during that time, intense downloads while doing walking meditations? And it was always, at this point in Leo season, multiple years in a row. So I looked into this and learned that, this is kind of how I connected to the energy of Sirius. So for those of you who have powerful activations, information coming through downloads during this time, you may also have similar connections to Sirius and Sirius B. We're also in celebration of Llamas. That's the when I was like, oh, there's so much going on. I want to remember everything. So Llamas, which hits today, Sunday, August 1st, if you're listening to this on the launch date of this podcast, is the first of the Wiccan and pagan harvest festivals. So we have a couple harvest festivals in paganism that start today and move through Halloween, Samhain, which is, October 31st. And this marks the time that we're beginning to harvest. We're beginning to gather supplies for the colder months ahead and kind of back in the day, that's when, crops, wheat, vegetables, fruits that were going to start dying off were gathered. Lammas occurs about halfway in terms of the overall arc of the year between the summer solstice and the fall equinox. And it's basically when we're still really celebrating, partying it up in summer's energy, but also giving thanks for the abundance that has come throughout the summer so that we can carry it forth into, the fall, into the winter. And back then, much of that was physically with kind of collecting, gathering grains and wheat and vegetables. But I look at this, we don't as much have the need to do that. Although I still totally freeze strawberries from my friend Christina's garden. I'm stocking up on the summer harvest. But, more so at this time, I look at this energetically of how can we carry these energies, these activations, this gratitude forward. The other powerful energy we're working with in August, which I'll get more into detail later in the month, is our second full moon in Aquarius. And it's rare that we have two full moons back to back in the same constellation while the sun is in the same time. So we've had the two full moons in Aquarius while the sun is in Leo. So the first one occurred back on July 24th. And we have our second full moon in Aquarius occurring on August 22nd. So this really gives us a chance to revisit anything we may still feel kind of unresolved about. And with the full moons, I always like to look back at that 6-month cycle of where were we in Aquarius season of this year. So back in end of January through February of 2021, what was coming up, maybe conflicts, maybe things that were starting to tap at you energetically of requesting change. What were you dealing with? What was coming up in your life at that time? I said in the previous episode that for me, that was when I really realized it was February that I was like, I gotta go somewhere. I think it's Miami. So it's funny that then I'm moving and I'll be for the second go round of this, I'll be in my new home in Miami for this the second full moon in Aquarius. So anything that we might need to revisit from Aquarius season, but also things that we may need to revisit from last month's full moon on July 24th, things that came up, things that maybe we are not in completion of that energetic cycle. Aquarius is associated with humanitarianism, social progress, unity. So this full moon really offers a powerful time to revisit what those things mean to us versus what we've been told they mean. To me, Aquarian energy is really beautifully summed up by the Jason Shirka quote, "Unity doesn't mean we all share the same beliefs. Unity means we respect and honor each other regardless of our differences." So I think that looking at themes of unity, looking at how we're interacting with the collective, how can we unify from a place of holding our truth, holding our sovereignty, and still respecting others' truths and sovereignty. I think that came up big in Cancer with the High Priestess, and I think we're still going to be revisiting this because we have our second Aquarian full moon. So as for our cards for the month, let's take a look. We start out with the Leo-ruled Strength card, which is the 8th major arcana. I love that the 8s comes through so strongly in this card because it even has that iconic infinity symbol, the sideways, which looks like a sideways 8, shown as a crown above Strength's head in the original the Smith Rider-Waite deck and many decks that are derived from this artwork. There's always that infinity loop crown above her head. And that really represents kind of this infinite potential and wisdom that comes with strength. And I always feel that in Leo season. I feel like Leo Lionsgate Portal is opening that infinite potential that may have felt just out of reach, especially to many of us in Cancer season. So in the Smith Rider-Waite deck, this card also shows that the woman who is kind of depicted, illustrated as Strength, is calming and taming this lion. And she's doing it very gently without force. And to me, Strength is one of those ultimate manifestation cards because it follows the Chariot. And the Chariot can be very willful and can even be known for trying to kind of manipulate and force. I call it mana forcing, where you're like, I want it to go this way. Whereas Strength requires inner knowing. That's why that infinity halo is always there, combined with trusting the universe that's, and that which is bigger than us. And to me, that's the lion of kind of trusting the things that are bigger and allowing the things coming through for us to happen for our highest good. If the chariot represented last month, the bulk of July and Cancer season, if the chariot represents the strategy and inspiration kind of striking, and we were starting to get that impatience and that gotta go, gotta move, but I don't necessarily know where or how. Strength provides us the tools and abilities to actually implement this in a non-controlling way. We all have a card each year, which is calculated by our single digit month plus our birthday plus the year we're in. So for example, mine, I'm born on December 10th, was 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0. That makes sense. Adding up all those single digits of December 10th plus 2020 for last year. And that was my strength year. So this was, no joke, definitely a challenging year in 2020 in many ways. But it was when I will always look back as when I stopped trying to force. I stopped trying to manipulate, control, and manage outcome from my past self's point of view and my ego self's knowledge. I came to the crossroads of New York, really felt bad for me. It felt very misaligned, and I had no idea where my home would be, but I just kept trusting my inner guidance system, i.e. that infinity halo of strength and the universe's guidance. And I was called to move to Pennsylvania near my family, spend a year, which felt like a gentle recovery and access, what I needed to do moving forward. And it's funny because the majority of that time in Pennsylvania was then in 2021, which was for me my hermit year. And it was a lot of, I was in, rural Pennsylvania, not the access to community and the things that really drive my extrovert self. But I think I needed that hermit energy in the majority of 2021. And that really allowed me the time to kind of receive downloads of information of where I was headed. Watch out 2022, because that's my year of Wheel of Fortune, and it's going to be Jupiter-tastic, expansion, reinvention, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We're talking about the 8th major arcana, we're talking about strength. And this is that calm inner knowing of when I was at this moment in 2020 in my strength year of, holy shit, this is not what I thought my life was going to look like. This is not the home that I, feel aligned with. This is not where I'm supposed to be. And instead of trying to force, I'm going to make it work here, or I'm going to instantly fly to here and make my life, I just had to sit and really, trust that I had connection to the universe within me and kind of work with those energies to let the path unfold. And that's really that calm inner knowing that this month we can release that impatience of the chariot, because the chariot can sometimes, it's Miley on a wrecking ball in my deck. It can cause that come on, let's go. And I feel like a lot of us felt that in June and July. And that caused a little bit of that disconnect of, I'm feeling this inspiration, I'm feeling like I want to go, but I'm not quite sure where. And we had to kind of sit and wait for this calm inner knowing of strength and that infectious Leo confidence that the party is truly about to get started in August. So I'm really grateful for this card. Our next card for the month of August is the Sun. And, it's ruled by its namesake, the Sun, our brightest star that we know of, which is Leo's ruling star. So everyone loves this card. It represents success, vitality, abundance. It's really the ultimate yes card in the tarot. If you ever pull the Sun in a reading, even if you haven't studied the tarot that much, you get excited because you're like, oh, this looks like joy. It's associated with the solar plexus. So, it really connects us to our authenticity, inner empowerment, confidence. It's a great tag team with the strength card for that reason. In the traditional Smith-Rider-Waite deck, the Sun card shows this happy little baby on a white horse galloping through this field of sunflowers. So there's a lot of inner child activation and joy. That's why when you see this card, you're just like, okay, this feels good. I feel like this is a good outcome. This is a good sign. In the Badass Bitches Tarot, I made this card Cher because I freaking love Cher. And I think she comes across as forever young because she's always in this just sheer element of joy of being her authentic self and embracing almost that inner child aspect. And honestly, she lights up the screen on stage or in a movie. She just exudes that inner joy. It's funny, my dad, who I think he was hoping by my late 30s, I would just, when I came to my quote unquote tour stop in rural Pennsylvania, that I would finally settle down here. And oh, okay, well, you're at this age that you're gonna move to the burbs and you're gonna settle down. And when he realized that I continue to be this like crazy, rebellious city witch at heart, and was headed to Miami in all of my black sparkly sequin kimonos. He was like, what are you going to be like at my age? And I said, I'm still going to be a lot like me, maybe a little bit more sparkly, a little bit more over the top. I'll probably be a lot like Cher. And to me, that's the sun card. The other aspect of the sun, which is often overlooked, but is just as, if not more important than the abundance and happiness, is that the sun illuminates that which has been in shadow. And on a personal level, for many of us that felt hazy or unclear of how to proceed in certain aspects of our day-to-day life over, especially June and July. I mean, some of us probably all of 2020 and 2021, but June and July were very dense with this. A lot of these things are likely to be clarified in August. On the world stage, more disclosure is likely to occur. We've seen so much darkness being exposed and disclosed throughout 2021, which is no surprise really, because going back to numerology, 2021, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1 adds up to 5. So we've been in a 5-year, the year of the Hierophant, of aha moments, of big lessons, due to our ability to awaken and see things that we were unable to see before. So the sun is kind of, I feel like a gentler energy than the Hierophant. But I do think more disclosure, more clarity on a personal level and on the world stage coming in August. So look for additional information to become, clearer and undeniable in the truth that you're receiving and kind of in your knowingness in the month of August. Okay. Our third card for the month comes from the January 2021 yearly overview, where I pulled King of Cups for us for the collective for the month of August. I love this card so much. I always refer to this card as the ultimate healer. I say this would be like the therapist card. And, therapist, healer. The court cards, as we know, are ruled by elements rather than planets or constellations. So King of Cups is ruled by the elements of fire and water, because kings are associated with the element of fire. Cups are ruled by water. So fire and water. And this is a really powerful combination when you think about it, because fire heats water, water cools fire, and that action creates this kind of cycle in order to create a fifth element, a new element. In physics, we would say this creates a vapor or a gas, and metaphysically, esoterically, we often refer to this as ether. In the Smith Rider-Waite deck, the King of Cups is the only court card in the cup suite that isn't looking at the cup he carries. All the other, the Page, Knight, Queen, they're kind of like really fixated on their cup. And the king is just holding it out, looking straight ahead, almost indicating like, I've already mastered my own inner emotional self. So now I'm able to pay that forward. I'm like, I got that. And that's why I call it the healer card, because as all of us, and I think many of you who listen to this podcast, we're all healers in our own right, because we've had to do some really deep, dark inner healing. And that is kind of King of Cups energy of like, I've had to do that for myself. Now, where can I fill that cup and give it outward to the world as a result of my healing? And this is the creating of that additional element, and the welcoming in of others. For those of you who are single, King of Cups this month could very, very much indicate that you have spent a lot of time doing that inner work and working on yourself and doing a lot of healing, and you're now ready to truly receive a partner on your level as a result. The King of Cups is also very associated with the heart chakra and indicates additional healing and additional connection through the heart as a result of that. So as soon as I realized this was my card for August, I was so excited because I'm being reunited with several of my closest friends who now live in Miami. I'm an extreme extrovert, as I always say. I'm a city witch. I know that this new environment and physical access to more community will definitely provide so much nourishment to my heart chakra. So I was like, yes, I'm so excited to see the King of Cups show up on the month that I'm moving. The Leo month, we've got just like so much beauty and healing and clarity coming in August. So all right, let's take a look at our card for the week before we head out. Before we pull our card of the week, thank you to our friends at Louvre Design for supporting our season of the podcast. As a tarot reader and spiritual worker, I believe that our lives as humans and our ecosystem are all part of one great system of energy. The fashion industry is one of the most important sources of waste on our planet, but Louvre has set out to prove that responsible fashion can be the norm. Protecting the planet, the people, and the animals are values most important to Louvre, and I stand firmly behind them. 25% of the pieces are actually made with upcycled fabrics, and the remainder of the fabrics made with renewable materials like organic cotton, bamboo, modal, and tencel. Most pieces are made in Canada, and Louvre chooses all of their suppliers based on rigorous standards. This is the comfy, modern brand you can be proud to wear. Don't forget to visit louvedesign.com, that's Louve design.com, and get free shipping on your next order anywhere you are with the code HEXFREE, all one word, at checkout. Ooh, okay. Eight of Cups. This is interesting. The eights, we have another eight, which are ruled by strength, like we talked about, and which is kind of the leader of the month of August, because strength is the Leo card. And when I was like, it's one of those cards that it's bittersweet. There's a lot of there's beauty and there's challenge in Eight of Cups. I always explain the eight cards as requiring a lot of intrinsic strength because of their ruling card. And this card specifically is ruled by Saturn in Pisces. And it's often a card of walking away from something that's not so cut and dry. That's why there's kind of that it's not super easy, but it's necessary. It's good for us. In the Ten of Swords, for example, to me, that's a black and white card. It's like, yep, that's a bad idea. Pull the plug on it. Time to peace out. Eight of Swords calls you to kind of acknowledge the lessons in Saturn, but it can be more of an emo process because of that Pisces energy. This can involve walking away from a relationship that you've outgrown, but have had some really, really beautiful memories and has taught you a lot, and you've had amazing experiences within that relationship. It can also point to exiting a job that you've come to see is not your sole purpose, but you worked with some really awesome people and formed friendships, and you love your boss and your colleagues, and you learned a lot in the process. Usually the challenge in Eight of Cups comes from that water, Pisces cups energy that is the pull on our heartstrings. I definitely have this with leaving Pennsylvania this week for my new home. I am beyond ready to leave the simple life and get my Miami fabulousness on, but I will definitely miss the time I've been able to spend getting closer, connecting more to my mom and my dad and my niece, and meeting one of my new soul family besties, Christina. In my dream world, they would all just be living in Florida, within driving distance, and I wouldn't have to give up that time with them. But I also know this is very much for my highest good, and entering into an environment that is more energetically aligned with me will give me the ability to expand my healing, how I can help the world, the collective. As I expand my community, I have, growth opportunities for my work, and just the ability to feed my heart and root chakra in a really big, big way, in a place that feels more aligned for me. We often get caught up in the traditional imagery of the Eight of Cups, of this man walking away from this big pile of 8 cups, and he's looking really somber and kind of sad. And while it's undeniably a bittersweet passage, one of the elements that I think is really overlooked in the energy of Eight of Cups is where we can offer gratitude for the experience. It can be tempting to just be like, okay, I'm moving on from that job, that relationship, or in my case, trading a view of fields and power lines for a gorgeous ocean view. Okay. I mean, moving on, without holding appreciation for what the situation we're exiting brought to us. And I've really spent a lot of time reflecting on this past year, and I'm so incredibly grateful for that time with my family, with my new friend, and creating, I sat and kind of created these going away albums to express that in my own little whatever crafty way to them. And I realize everyone's situation is different, and you might not necessarily make your ex a lovely Shutterfly going away album. But Eight of Cups really asks us to use that deep water Pisces energy to find gratitude in the Saturn lessons that came through this transition that we find ourselves embarking on this week. I hope that was helpful. I hope everyone has had a great Lammas, has an incredible upcoming new moon in Leo, and as always, stay magical AF. I hope you enjoyed the episode today. Don't forget to hit subscribe and give the show a rating and review wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Follow me at CardsEB on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you and get your feedback on the show. I'll be back in a week with a new episode. Thank you for listening to Hex in the City.